Hey everybody, welcome back to Movies News Podcast, episode 176. This is going to be a fun one. Some really awesome animated features to discuss today. Both movies I actually hadn't watched in a handful of years, and I'm curious to know when Vee watched my pick last, including their own. So this is going to be fun to revisit these films. But before we get into that, Vee, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. These animated movies were quite dark, which is why we paired them up together. So I'm not as uplifted and ready to go as I usually am, because these are a little intense movies, but I was so glad to revisit both of them. So I'm excited to talk about them.
Awesome, as am I. Looking forward to it big time. But before we get into both of these films, these dark animated films from the 80s and the 90s, Vee and I are industry veterans. We have been in the industry for collectively over 20 years and have been friends for over 25 years as well. We are here to discuss movies that have fallen under the radar, maybe have been forgotten, or movies that we just want to revisit. And today are two movies that I feel have definitely fallen under the radar. A lot of people that I talk to about these films usually are like, I don't even remember the last time I saw those. So hopefully we reintroduce a lot of people to both of these flicks today.
I agree, especially people of around our age. I think most of them would remember these movies, even if they hadn't seen them in quite some time. But people like our nieces absolutely have no idea about these movies.
I'll likely wait another year to show my pick to my oldest niece. But
Minimum.
Ferngully, I feel like, minimum. But I feel like Ferngully is a little bit more kid-friendly than my pick this week.
I totally agree.
So before we jump into these two animated films from back in the day, we love to discuss the movies that we've seen in theaters or on streaming this week. So Vee, I'm curious, did you see anything new?
Well, it wasn't new to me, but it was a new experience in the theater because I went to the Fathom event of the 40th anniversary of Clue.
Wow, it's 40 years already?
Yeah, it's insane
Damn.
to think. It was so much fun to see it on the big screen, and they actually had the special feature where, from the original release back in the 80s when this came out, they only had one ending to the movie at this showing.
Well, I've only seen the movie one time, so I wouldn't even know of a different ending, I guess.
Yes, there's 3 different endings, and so when it was released in the 80s, depending on the theater that you went to, that would have a different ending, which I thought was so cool. It just wasn't marketed the right way, apparently, because Clue is now a cult classic. It did not do well when it was released.
Right.
But at different theaters, you had different endings, which I thought was so brilliant.
That is so badass, actually. That is really fucking cool, because that, of course, gets people to see it 3 different times.
You'd think so, right? Because there's 3 different cuts of the ending of this movie. So the nice thing is that on the VHS and then the DVD and now, you can see all 3 endings together.
Oh, cool.
And that's the way we're going to watch it because it's on my list. I think it's going to be my pick for our 4th anniversary just because I love this movie so much. It's one of my all-time favorites. And so I've been mulling it over. I even mulled it over this year for our 3rd anniversary. So it's certainly on our list, and we'll certainly be discussing it in more detail in the coming year or so.
Awesome. I've seen it one time. I don't really remember anything about it, so it'll be a brand new experience for me when we do it on the show.
Awesome. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to see that in theaters. 40 years, that's nuts.
I know, right? So that's what I saw in theaters this week, a really fun special event. And John,
hell yeah.
What did you see?
I saw 5 movies,
Jesus
one
Christ.
Also a Fathom event. Well, I'm trying to do what I can to see all of the Conjuring Universe movies in the theaters before Last Rite comes out. So I was able to go see Annabelle last week, which is the origin story of the Annabelle doll from the first Conjuring movie.
You know, I've finally seen the original picture of the Annabelle doll, and the movie version is way scarier.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
The real version is like a Raggedy Ann doll, basically.
Yeah, and now Regal has the Annabelle popcorn tin, and it's the doll, like, straddling the box or whatnot. It's kind of funny.
Oh, God.
Yeah, but I was able to see that, and it was fun. I gave it, like, probably a C+. There were 3 or 4 really solid scares. Overall, it's kind of like I get it. I understand why they totally made an origin story, but I'm glad I got to see it in theaters. That was pretty cool.
Okay.
And then I watched 4 other movies that were brand new. I'm going to go with the one that I enjoyed least but didn't hate. I didn't hate any movies this week.
Okay.
This one is a Hulu-produced movie starring our good friend Samara Weaving.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. Also Steve Zahn and Andy Garcia. This is a movie called Eenie Meenie.
Oh, is that part of the Ready or Not universe?
No, it is not at all, actually. This is more of a Baby Driver, Fast and the Furious. That's kind of where I'd leave it. It's not bad. It's Amy watched it with me. She didn't really enjoy it, but there were a few solid laughs, and Samara Weaving was awesome. And it's enjoyable if you've got like an hour and a half and you want to watch something new. I'd recommend it.
Okay.
And then I went and saw the new Ethan Coen-directed film starring Margaret Qualley, Aubrey Plaza, and Charlie Day, Honey Don't.
Oh, we were both excited about this film.
Yeah, and it's pretty good. It felt like a very unofficial sequel to Drive Away Dolls, which was Margaret Qualley and Ethan Coen from last year, which I enjoyed as well, but it had a very similar tone to it. And it's still pretty good. It has a lot of solid laughs, and Aubrey Plaza and Margaret Qualley have some very, very... very good scenes together.
Oh, God.
But overall, I'd give the movie also a C+. It's nothing that I'm going to run to see again, but if it's streaming, I'll likely give it a shot because I enjoy watching all those people. And Charlie Day was good. He was in it maybe 3.5 minutes.
Wow, you're becoming a Charlie Day convert.
Slowly. We'll see what happens with the next one.
Uh-huh.
And then I took Amy to see Freakier Friday with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis and Julia Butters and Sophia Hammonds. And Chad Michael Murray was also back. Everybody really came back from the version from almost 20 years ago, I think. Yeah, and this was very enjoyable. Absolutely family-friendly. A lot of laughs. We love Jamie Lee Curtis here, so I pretty much just enjoyed watching her the whole time. But Lindsay Lohan was great. Everybody was awesome. And Julia Butters is so awesome. She was the young girl in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that plays off of Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
And yeah, she was great. Everybody was really, really good. And it's absolutely a recommendation from both Amy and I.
Wow, that's pretty impressive being a sequel, especially to a comedy, coming out so many years later. That's hard to land. That's pretty impressive that they did a good job.
They really did. Yeah, I was very impressed with it.
Great.
And then the final film that I watched that I absolutely loved, that I fell completely in love with and spent the entire final 15 minutes of completely weeping, was the documentary on Sally Ride.
Oh, I'm so glad. I know, right? The last 15 minutes, you're just a mess. Oh my God.
I'm so glad Amy was not in the room.
I
was weeping. Weeping.
Isn't it
weeping.
good?
Yeah, Tam O'Shaughnessy was so awesome to listen to, and just going back through Sally Ride's life when she went up in 1983. I'll never forget hearing about her in like 92, 93, because my grandfather was involved with NASA and my parents knew I was big on it. And they're like, oh, you should learn about Sally Ride and you should learn about the Challenger and all this stuff. So I've known about Sally Ride for a long time, and I remember when she died back in 2012, and watching all of it, it brought up so many memories throughout my childhood of when I got really into NASA, and then just, like I said, that final 15 minutes was just beautiful and heartbreaking, but so just wonderful, and just her life, like you had said, I think about a week or two ago, it's really sad that she unfortunately hid so much of her personal life, but at the same time, she was such a badass in those interviews. God, I love when she goes, it's Dr. Ride or Sally, and there's only one right answer. And I'm like, fuck yeah, Sally, get that
not
shit.
Miss.
Be Dr. Ride. Yeah, it's not Miss Ride. I loved that. That was so great.
And she was so poised and calm, and she had such a great temperament. And when they talk about picking the first woman, I can understand how they landed on her, because of all of these interviews that you listen to throughout this documentary. You're like, yeah, she could handle herself. She had the right temperament to put up with all of this bullshit. And it was so awe-inspiring to watch, and you just have so much respect for women who had to put up with this kind of behavior and those kinds of questions, and granted we still do, but just being the first one, the amount of stuff she probably dealt with that we don't even know about, and the rest of the women that were picked. I'm so glad you got around to watching that film.
Yep, I ended eeny meeny just on Sunday night and was like, I'm going to watch Sally. Yep, it was a wonderful experience, also cleansing, and I slept great.
Good,
after that movie. So definitely check out Sally if anybody is interested in that one. Absolutely one of the best documentaries of the year, because I've now seen, I think, 3 for 2025.
Nice.
Yeah, so that is what I saw, and theaters are on streaming this week. Definitely a good week at the movies. Awesome. Well, as always, here at Movies You Miss Podcast, my motto is keep theaters alive, but stay off your phones.
Oh, God. Never pull out your phone in a theater. I will full-on suplex you if I see you do that.
Well, I kind of hope somebody does now. I would love to see you suplex somebody. That would be so entertaining. But hey, let's get into these movies. These are dark. There's a little bit of violence in both of these, but not super violent.
What? Yours has tons of violence. I rewatched your movie this week and was appalled at the level of violence in it.
Yeah, my pick, like we said earlier, far darker than yours. So let's get into your pick, V. Take it away.
A couple weeks ago for our Hook episode, I mentioned this movie in passing because of Robin Williams. He is a voice actor in this movie. It's actually his first ever animated role. Very excited to talk about that. Yes, because I picked the 1992 Ferngully The Last Rainforest.
Awesome.
I've been watching this movie since about the time it came out. I certainly didn't watch it in theaters, but my parents got it for us right away, and we had the VHS throughout my childhood. I loved this movie from the beginning. I thought it was such a beautifully animated film. The first thing that caught me was just how beautiful this movie was, how much I wanted to visit that rainforest, and how scary and awful Hexus was.
Oh, yeah.
So this movie takes place in a forest, actually in Australia, and we are following a group of fairies. Now, these fairies seem like they protect the forest, and Maggie is the older woman who's like the old wise woman of the tribe. And she has the most magic, and she's trying to teach this young fairy, Krista, all about the magic of the forest, how every living thing can provide life and magic to other living things, and also how everything is connected. I love Maggie so much. She's such a wonderful character. She's very calm. She believes in Krista and really wants her to take over once Maggie's gone. And during these lessons, she tells Krista a story about Hexus.
Our world was much larger then. The forest went on forever. We tree spirits nurtured the harmony of all living things, but our closest friends were humans. Then, as sometimes happens, the balance of nature shifted. And Hexus, the very spirit of destruction, rose up from the bowels of the earth and rained down his poison. The forest was nearly destroyed. Many lives were lost, and the humans fled in fear, never to return. Most think they didn't survive. It was only by calling up the magical powers of nature that I was able to trap Hexus inside an enchanted tree and save Ferngully.
And so they have all become rather complacent, rather comfortable. All these fairies who are younger don't remember the bad times, so they're just living their lives, and Krista is actually a really curious fairy. She goes out further than anybody else, and that's what actually happens one day. She goes exploring and sees some smoke on the horizon. Being the young, curious woman that she is, she goes to investigate, and this is where we meet Zach. He is a young man from New South Wales, Australia. We see his license at some point, which is great. And he is part of a logging company. And this logging company has this big machine that fells trees. And even back when I was a little kid, the scene made me so sad. I grew up in Northern California with tons of redwood trees. And so logging was big business all around where I grew up. And so every time I would pass a big lumber mill with stacks and stacks and stacks of these beautiful redwood trees, it always made me so sad, even from a very young age. And so I think that's one of the reasons why this movie has always spoken to me and had a really special place in my heart. And while Krista is observing these humans, Zach is marking all of these trees for cutting down. And he goes off the path a little bit and into this clearing with this really dark, really large, really weird tree. And while he's there, a bug actually starts buzzing around his head, and which we've all done, uses what's ever in your hand to try to get the bug away from you. And unfortunately, that means the spray can that he's been holding. And so he's trying to spray the bug away from him or get it. And this ends up turning into what looks like a bit of an X on this tree. And every tree he marks with an X is one they're supposed to cut down. So as the big cutter moves through the forest, these two guys in the cab see this tree, see that it looks like it has an X on it, and they cut it down. Unfortunately, that's where Hexus has been all this time. And this is when the movie just goes up another level because we're given Tim Curry.
Yeah.
His song is my favorite song of the whole movie. This is
it's so good.
Kind of a musical in the way that like Beauty and the Beast is a musical. There's songs within it that characters sing, but it's not back-to-back-to-back songs.
I had completely forgotten about the lizard song that Tone Loc sings in this movie.
Oh, I love that song so much.
Yeah, it's a great moment in the movie.
And so not only has Hexus been released with this incredible, deep, menacing voice, but right around this time is also when Krista has been introduced to a bat named Batty, voiced by Robin Williams.
Yeah.
He has escaped a human testing
so
site.
Awesome.
Yeah. He's got an antenna sticking out of his head. He's a bit manic and also a bit paranoid, which is the perfect character for Robin Williams to portray.
Absolutely.
Batty and Krista quickly become friends, and as she's leaving this area where all these trees are getting cut down, Zach actually catches a glimpse of her out of the corner of his eye and turns to look and goes, "What kind of bug is that? She's a little fairy, but she glows." And he's a bit distracted trying to catch her, and that's when a tree is cut down and is starting to fall on him. So Krista uses her rudimentary magic that she's been learning and turns Zach small so he doesn't get crushed by a tree.
Very awesome sequence in the movie, too.
I love that sequence so much. And so Krista and Batty rescue Zach and bring him back to where all the fairies are. And now for the rest of the movie, Krista is introducing Zach to her tiny world and also the benefits of the forest, teaching him how it's very important and we shouldn't be just willy-nilly cutting all the trees down. We're also going back to where the logging company is with Hexus. Now, he is an amorphous, oily, evil villain. Oh God, he's so well drawn. And he loves to feed upon death and destruction. So he is gulping down all of the exhaust from this equipment. He's loving the destruction of the forest. That's giving him life too. And so as this big piece of equipment moves along, he's getting bigger and stronger to a point where he takes over the tree faller and orders the guys in the cab to go towards Ferngully because he's pissed at the fairies for being trapped in that tree for what sounds like several hundred years.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are following this beautiful community in this gorgeous forest as they try to fight off Hexus once again and the humans that are leading him there. Like I said, I've loved this movie from the very beginning. It has a wonderful message. Unfortunately, as humans, we didn't really take it to heart because we're still clear-cutting the rainforest and the Amazon.
Nobody listened to Ferngully.
Nobody did, but it is still a very entertaining movie. It has wonderful songs in it. Robin Williams songs. I'm Batty is great. Like you said.
Yes.
The lizard song is awesome too. And I've always wanted to visit this mythical forest, but I never really knew where it was until I saw it this week because I actually haven't seen this movie in a lot of years. But it's always been one of my favorites. I love this movie so much. It's so sweet. It's so beautifully done. And so now that I know it takes place in Australia, that makes a whole lot of sense. And I definitely have always wanted to visit Australia, especially the Victoria Mountains, especially all of the wonderful ecological miracles that are in that country and continent and island. It's such a cool, multifaceted place to go. And so
it really is.
I'm wondering how long it's been since you've seen this film and what you thought of this revisit.
Well, right. Well, going back to the beginning of when Ferngully came out, similar to you, my parents got it for us on VHS. Didn't see it in theaters that I can recall. It was in my life at a very young age. And I used to walk around the playground in elementary school going, "My name is Batty," like all the time.
Yes.
And so many of my school
that.
kids on the playground would be like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Have you not seen Ferngully The Last Rainforest?" And they were like, "No, I've never even heard of it." I'm like, "Oh, it's this really cool movie about these fairies and this bat and cutting down trees and this really scary, oily, ghosty, smoky guy." I ended up finding a DVD copy of Ferngully The Last Rainforest at a Sears in the mall in Santa Clarita, and I bought it. Very random find. It was around Christmas time. I bought it. It was like $3.99. And then, of course, about 3 years after that, I found a VHS copy of it at Amoeba. So I have it on DVD and I have it on VHS. And the last time I watched it before this podcast was within the last 6 years. So I've seen it twice in my 30s, I would say. And before that, I watched it very seldom, but it was always a good go-back-to movie. Even this time around, I had such a great time with it. I took a lot more of it to heart. A lot of the comedy I understood, especially when Batty's singing and he's going through his impressions of I think one of them might have been Joan Rivers. I don't know, but that moment just cracked me up. But I have been a big fan of this movie ever since I was a kid, and I have this weird memory that after I watched this movie so many times as a kid, I was in my backyard and we had this really big weeping willow in our backyard, like in the back corner. And that's where I would always go to sit and like hang out with my dog and hang out with the cats. And one day I was just kind of moseying around by the weeping willow and I saw a blue light fly in front of my face and fly away. And I was like, holy shit, Krista's here. I mean, this is a real memory that I have. And we all know fairies don't exist. I mean, maybe they do. I would love it if they did. That'd be awesome. But this is a very, very entertaining movie. The animation's awesome. Watching it this time around, there is a moment in this movie that I did not remember as a kid, but watching it this time around, I was like, that is one of the most humanistic expressions I've ever seen in a non-Disney movie. It's when Krista asks Zach if he's part of that machine that's cutting down all the trees. And they cut away from him and they cut to her and she like folds her hands together and she bites her lower lip. Mm-hmm. And I'm just the concerned face, the eyes, the biting of the lower lip. And of course, let's be honest, as a young boy, Krista was gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And of course, she still is a very beautifully drawn fairy. But I just loved that moment so much. I love when Hexus is re-released as he's that oil just sucking on the exhaust pipe has always scared me. I had a nightmare about Hexus when I was a kid too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just the whole like smirk. And like, you know, like the Tim Curry thing, and when he's singing and he becomes the skeleton, like in the all of that shit, and the fire and everything is crazy. And he's eating his smoke heads to like become the bigger head. Just so cool. And the Tone Loc song this time around, I was like, holy shit, I completely forgot Tone Loc was in this movie as a lizard. It is absolutely a Movies You Miss podcast movie because, like I said, I don't know how many of our listeners have seen it in the last 20 years. I don't want to say it's a forgotten gem, but I feel like it is a gem that definitely needs to be rewatched. And of course, when Cameron came out with Avatar, everyone's like, oh, this movie's just Ferngully. Oh, it absolutely is. Like, no doubt about it.
Yes.
1,000%.
Even the cab
basically
of
Hexus
that...
lived in Home Tree.
Yes, and even the cab
100%. Yeah.
And that machine is so much like the big machine they use in Avatar too. Or Avatar as well, the first Avatar.
Yes. We've obviously seen this story before, but this was the first one, and I love it. Big fan, so I'm glad that you were able to add it to the podcast list. It's certainly a great movie, and like you said, it's I can't remember exactly what you said just recently, but you said it's like it's elevated with music, but it's not like a musical type of a movie. Yeah, it's just a really, really cool fucking movie, and it was a great revisit this time around.
And it made me realize that I'd want to watch it more often. Similar to some of the other movies that we've talked about on this podcast, I'm like, God, why don't we watch this movie more often? It's certainly worth revisiting every year or two, I think. It's just so beautiful. The songs we could memorize, and I certainly haven't. And in terms of the animation, what completely stopped me in my tracks this time watching it was when they went swimming.
That was great.
Animation blew me away. It was so well done. Absolutely incredible when they went under the water and how their bodies looked under the water. And I think it's some of the best animated swimming I think it is the best animated swimming I've ever seen. And I'm thinking of Tarzan when he's a kid and he jumps in after the elephants. Like, that's not as well done as this in Ferngully.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I like that they've got the glowworms up on the cave ceiling and the reflections and everything is really awesome. The music, of course, is very intimate and it's very nice.
Ethereal.
You know, just like, Krista and Zach, of course. You know, fairy and man. There you go. Ethereal's good. Yeah, it is beautiful for sure. And that's the cool thing too. Like every frame is just like, oh wow, very, very cool. And those goofy sidekicks, that Cheech and Chong voice, of course, that are flying around on the Beatles. Those guys were great. And there's so many incredible Robin Williams moments, and just a laugh a minute when Batty's on screen.
One of the things that I loved about not seeing this movie for a lot of years is finally getting all of the jokes, and they just hit me because I haven't seen this movie in so long. It was like watching it with fresh eyes. Every single thing that Robin Williams said, I was like, well, that flew over my head as a kid. Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
The physical comedy didn't, but every line of dialogue, except the whole blinding thing. He's like, I'm blind, I can see. Like that whole thing is... As a kid, that's funny, but yeah, so damn good.
And he provided 14 hours worth of improvised lines for Batty.
Jeez, God almighty.
Bill Croyer?
I think he did something similar with the genie. It's like...
Yeah, well, his improvisation for the genie was also very rated R.
Yeah.
And Bill
release the Williams cut.
Oh, I've always wanted that. Right. And director Bill Kroyer was so impressed with Robin Williams that he tripled the screen time of Batty. He was only supposed to be an 8-minute character.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he's in over a third of the movie because Robin Williams just blew everybody away.
That's amazing.
And as you said, Cheech and Chong were voices in this movie. Krista was voiced by Samantha Mathis. She's an actor who's been busy since she was a kid. She has been a working actress for decades.
Oh.
I recognize her from a movie called Broken Arrow with John Travolta and Christian Slater, which is ridiculous, but a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
I'm pretty sure John Woo directed it. And
I was just going to say, I think that's a John Woo movie.
Yes. And she's also an assistant to the president in The American President, a movie that I picked a couple of Thanksgivings ago, which you did not enjoy.
Oh.
And she is also married to...
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't. And she's also married to Thomas Jane's character in The Punisher, which is another John Travolta movie, actually.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so that's who voices Krista. Christian Slater voices her friend Pips, who it's that classic story where the guy really likes the girl, but the girl only sees him as a friend. And that's a common trope in lots of movies that we've seen. And so he plays Pips, who's another fairy. And Christian Slater, not only being in Broken Arrow, but also was in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He starred in True Romance. He was recently in the show Mr. Robot for its entire run. And he also plays the interviewer in Interview with a Vampire.
Oh, cool. I've only seen Interview with a Vampire one time, but I really enjoyed it.
One time? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. My friend Angie let me borrow her DVD copy. I'm going to say this was at least coming on 10 years ago.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And I've always been wanting to rewatch it. I just have not gotten around to it.
Yeah, you should revisit it. I used to watch it a ton in my teens because my sister Shannon was really into vampires and Anne Rice at the time.
Wow.
She was ahead of the curve. This was well before Twilight, obviously, because this was in the 90s. So we watched a lot of movies like that. Dracula, Interview with the Vampire. So I was introduced to them through her.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we all know Tim Curry. Oh, God. I love this meme that goes around the internet that says you can always tell someone's age by what movie they think of when Tim Curry is mentioned. I love that meme so much because...
That's true.
It's so accurate. Rocky Horror Picture Show, Clue, Muppets Treasure Island, Congo. Like, it all just depends on when you were growing up.
Oh, yeah. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Oh, God. He was such an uptight bitch in that movie. I forgot about that.
I loved him so much, and that's so awesome.
So good. I want to talk about one of the writers of this movie, Jim Cox, only because he also wrote Oliver and Company and The Rescuers Down Under.
Oh, awesome.
I actually haven't ever seen Oliver and Company, but Rescuers Down Under is absolutely on our list.
Oh, yeah. Oliver and Company is great. That is a forgotten Disney gem. There's a lot of people that are like, no, I never watched that one. It seems to be the Fox and the Hound sort of thing kind of going on with that one. Oliver and Company can be sad at times.
Is it cats?
Cats and dogs, yeah. Oliver is a cat, and then he gets in with a bunch of misfit dogs, and Dom DeLuise is a voice in Oliver and Company.
Awesome. Oh my God, I love him so much. I cannot wait to talk about him more.
I know.
And Tim Curry's original voice recordings were so sinister that it made children cry during test screenings.
Wow.
So they had to call him back.
I had a nightmare.
Yeah, rightly so. They had to call him back to re-record most of his lines to make them less intimidating.
Jeez, could you imagine being Tim Curry? And I wonder if he got paid twice.
I would actually take that as a giant compliment, though, and be like, yeah, I am that good at being a villain. Like,
yeah.
That's a pretty badass claim. I make children cry.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And it was the first fully animated theatrical movie to be composed by Alan Silvestri.
Hey!
Alan Silvestri went on to score Lilo and Stitch, The Polar Express, A Christmas Carol from 2009.
Yeah.
Which you picked, because that was the Jim Carrey one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he also composed the music for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Now, beyond his animated credits, he also has composed most of the MCU movies, Prey, which is a former pick of John's.
Hell yeah.
Practical Magic, I'll be talking about Alan Silvestri more in the future because he also scored Contact. And he did a great job with this score. I love that. We've talked about the songs a little bit, but the underlying score of this movie is gorgeous as well.
It's very, very good.
Now, as I said, this is Robin Williams' very first animated voice work. However, Aladdin came out in 1992. So, shortly after signing on to Ferngully, he was approached to do the genie in Aladdin, and he said yes. Jeffrey Katzenberg was the head of Disney at the time. He had learned that Robin Williams was voicing an animated movie that was not Disney, and he got really pissed because he was a dick. And he didn't
that's all I've ever heard about that guy.
Yeah, he didn't want Robin in any sort of competing, quote unquote, animated film against Disney, especially because they were being released so close together. So, what he did, Jeffrey Katzenberg went out of his way to try to sabotage Ferngully. He took over any studios or sound stages they were trying to record or work in, any sort of audio production studios as well. He rented them out by paying more. He also tried to buy space to force the production out of it completely.
Wow.
He was such a dick about it that Robin Williams had a huge falling out with Disney because of it. Because that's not how Robin Williams ever was or ever worked. And so he voiced Aladdin and then said, fuck you to Disney, and didn't work with them again, which I respect.
Wow. Yeah. But then Jeffrey Katzenberg left, and then he came back for Return of Jafar.
Exactly. And that's why he came back, because Jeffrey Katzenberg wasn't there.
Awesome.
And I've had lots of jobs like that, thinking, oh, well, if you guys got rid of the senior manager, I'd probably come back. And
Yeah.
This is also Elton John's first work on an animated film.
Ah, very cool.
He wrote and performed the song Some Other World, which is the end credit song of this movie, and then of course went on to write a bunch of music for The Lion King in 1994.
Yes, indeed. When the credits rolled on Ferngully, I was like, the 90s were good to not only Robin Williams, but Elton John.
Yes, he had some serious success with writing music for movies in the 90s, that's for sure. And at the end of this movie, there's a title card that says, "For our children and our children's children." In keeping with that environmental theme and message of this movie, the film's poster was printed on recycled paper, and all merchandise used environmentally conscious packaging.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, this movie didn't do very well. I mean, I'm sure Jeffrey Katzenberg had something to do with it. Dick.
Yeah.
It had a $24 million budget.
Whoa!
Yeah. It made $24 million in the US and $33 million worldwide.
Damn.
Yeah. And speaking of Robin Williams, as we discussed in Hook, he has a very similar line. He says to Krista when they first meet, "What a strange little bug."
Yeah, I like that.
That's a line he used for Tinkerbell in Hook. So that is Ferngully. I hope I've reminded you, a whole lot of you this week, that this movie actually exists. Please feel free to revisit it.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. It still holds up, and the jokes are even funnier now.
Absolutely agree.
So now it's time to go even darker and discuss John movie, which I have a question about. I've been so eager to ask you this question, so I can't wait to talk about it after you describe the movie.
Okay.
But it's about the origins of the story, so...
Oh.
And so why don't you take it away and tell our audience what you picked this week?
All right, I shall. We're going to rewind a little bit and go back to the year of 1982. This film comes to us from Don Bluth. We've discussed him several times here at Movies You Miss podcast. He was one of the few that left Disney to make sure that this film actually got made, because this film was presented to Disney executives at the time. Don Bluth, Gary Goldman, and John Pomeroy all ended up leaving Disney so that they could pursue bringing this film to life. This film is called The Secret of Nimh. Now, this is a film that I know a lot of people have never heard of. I know fewer people that have seen the movie than have heard of it. So I think this is certainly a Movies You Missed podcast all-star movie.
I agree.
Awesome. This film is based on the novel by Robert O'Brien. The story adaptation...
That was my question. Is I remember the game.
Oh.
I remember a book, and I remember the movie, and my question was, which one came first?
Yeah. Based on a novel by Robert O'Brien. So thank you, Robert O'Brien. The story adaptation for this film, The Secret of Nimh, was by Don Bluth, John Pomeroy, Gary Goldman, and uncredited writer Will Finn. This film stars the voice talents of Elizabeth Hartman, Derek Jacobi, Arthur Mallet, who we actually did not even discuss for even a second when we did Hook 2 weeks ago.
No.
He lost his marbles.
Oh my God. He was Toodles?
He was Toodles in Hook. Yes.
Aww.
Yeah. The Secret of Nimh also is the home to Shannon Doherty's first film role.
Yes.
And Will Wheaton's first film role as well.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned both of them. Yes, they played the children.
Indeed, they did. And this film also, because this is a Don Bluth film, stars the magnificent voice talent of Dom DeLuise as Jeremy the Crow.
The only person who I think could keep up with Robin Williams in terms of fantastic voice acting in a comedic crazy role.
Completely agree with all of that. That would have been, oh my gosh, could you imagine if they were both in an animated movie together and it would literally just be them, they'd have 28 hours of improvised dialogue to cut into a movie. That would be nuts.
They would play brothers.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Pseudo-universe, maybe that exists out there somewhere in a different timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So let's break down the film The Secret of Nimh. We will tell you what Nimh stands for in just a few minutes here. The Secret of Nimh centers on Mrs. Brisby. Mrs. Brisby was actually originally named Mrs. Frisbee in the novel. This kind of blew my mind because when Bluth and Goldman and Pomeroy were getting this off the ground, they really wanted to avoid a lawsuit with Whammo Toys, which is the creator of the Frisbee.
Mm-hmm.
So they changed the name of Mrs. Frisbee to Mrs. Brisby. The film had been locked in all of the recording for the entire cast. So what the sound editors ended up doing was going through the entirety of the recording of everybody's dialogue anytime they said Mrs. Frisbee. They spliced every time a character had a word that began with BR, and they spliced in the BR and laid it onto the magnetic sound strip. So it's Mrs. Brisby and never Mrs. Frisbee in the film of The Secret of Nimh.
Reminds me of editing this podcast every week.
There you go. So anyway, this film is centered on Mrs. See, I just almost did it myself.
Don't worry, I'll cut it in.
This film is centered on Mrs. Brisby. Okay, cool. This film is centered on Mrs. Brisby. She is a mouse that lives in a field in a cinder block, and she is about to get her family ready to move away because there is a plowing that's going to be coming through this farm that she has been laying residence in with her family. And unfortunately, her youngest son has fallen very ill. So she goes to find medicine for her boy so that she can heal him for this big move that's coming up, and they can relocate the entire family. In the process of this, we are introduced to several new characters, including Jeremy the Crow, who is just hopped up on finding the love of his life. And I love the introduction scene to Jeremy in this. She helps him get out of a trap, very similarly to the beginning of The Rescuers Down Under.
Yes, and he did remind me of John Candy, actually. The way he voiced the albatross in The Rescuers Down Under. It totally remind me of how Don DeLuise did the Crow in this movie.
Yeah, there's so many great comedic moments when Jeremy is introduced to Mrs. Brisby. And Ms. Brisby is very, very soft-spoken. She's very timid. We also find out that her husband, Jonathan, has unfortunately been killed. In the process of having her met Jeremy, we find out that Ms. Brisby needs to go and visit the Great Owl to get some advice from him as to where she really needs to start moving her family. We also find out that there's a colony of rats on this farm as well, and there's a lot of connection between Mrs. Brisby and this colony of rats. We find out that Jonathan, her husband, was a mouse that was involved in some testing at a facility called NIMH. We also find out that NIMH stands for National Institute for Mental Health. And I remember when I found this movie on VHS almost 10 years ago, and I Googled NIMH, and my jaw hit the floor. I was like, oh my gosh, I completely do not remember it being the National Institute of Mental Health. So what we ultimately end up finding out about Jonathan is the fact that these rats, including himself, were subjected to a lot of tests. And these tests, beyond furthering their intelligence, will actually allows them to read. They also understand things as mechanics and electricity. They're really evolving into these very, very smart animals. Mr. Jonathan Brisby decides that he's going to help them escape and go just live their life as regular rats and mice and animals, and he would love to get back to his wife. Unfortunately, things don't go as planned in this jailbreak, if you will, from NIMH, and we are treated to a pretty decent traumatization of what happens to these rats and what happens to Jonathan. And Ms. Brisby hears about all this because she just thinks that he was killed doing something completely different. She did not know that he was actually a hero mouse, if you will. So after Mrs. Brisby hears about all this, she's introduced to other rats that are also trying to figure out if they should stay or if they should leave this farm that's about to be plowed. And this is where she meets Justin. And Justin, I gotta tell you, I love the fact that everybody has a human name in this movie. You know, it's not like, granted, there is Nicodemus and the Great Owl, but Justin, Jonathan, Mrs. Brisby, Timothy, Jeremy the Crow. I think the name Jeremy is just hysterical. It's and Mr. Ages, and then there's Auntie Shrew. Can't forget about Auntie Shrew, played by Hermione Baddeley. She was fantastic, on top of just the gorgeous animation, which we will talk about shortly. But Hermione Baddeley was in Mary Poppins, one of my past picks. She was one of the maids in that film.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, Shannon Doherty plays Teresa, and Will Wheaton plays Martin, the two children that are also Mrs. Brisby's kids. So beyond what we learn about these rats and them really wanting to leave the farm and live independently, there's a faction of rats that really want to stay, and they have the knowledge that would be required to stop this plow from coming into their home. And for the rest of the movie, we are treated to a lot of intensity beyond the rats and how they come down on Mrs. Brisby. Of course, Justin is the guy that's on Mrs. Brisby's side, and she's still trying to figure out exactly what she can do to heal her son and move her family out of this farm that is about to be destroyed, which would ultimately kill her and this collection of rats that were from Nimh. I always want to say from The Secret of Nimh. The Secret of Nimh is just the name of the movie. Now, I watched this movie as a child. I think I was about 5 years old when I saw this movie for the first time. My parents brought it home for me. My dad was a big fan of this movie, and I always remembered it was freaky. I always remember the Great Owl really freaked me out, and then when we meet Nicodemus, that was a little freaky too, but I also was like, ooh, Splinter! You know, like, I was a little like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle kid, so I was like, oh, that's totally Splinter. This is the first full-length Don Bluth movie I had seen, because after this we get American Tail, and then Fievel Goes West and American Tail, and All Dogs Go to Heaven, which we'll discuss in the future as well as a pick of mine. Don Bluth and the animators on this movie, the expressions on the mouse and the rat's faces, especially on Jeremy and the Great Owl and Nicodemus. Gary Goldman had voiced the fact that he was really excited that this was going to be one of the first PG-rated animated films that he was a part of, but the MPAA gave it a G rating.
What?
Which is still kind of insane. Yeah, this movie is a G-rated flick. They never
PG-13.
actually did an appeal to get a PG. For 82, I would say PG-13 would be right up that alley. Absolutely. There are moments of sheer terror in this movie. And it's a creepy-ass flick. And the fact that it was a children's movie, and I watched it as young as I did, it just kind of blows my mind. But I found a VHS copy of it at a record store in Utah, in Provo, almost 10 years ago. And unfortunately, my luggage didn't make it home. So for that year for Christmas, my wonderful wife was able to find another VHS copy of The Secret of Nimh, and she found a copy of All Dogs Go to Heaven on VHS, because those are both phenomenal Don Bluth movies, and I think the All Dogs Go to Heaven should have also gotten at least a PG rating because of one particular scene. With The Secret of Nimh, watching it this time around, and the last time I watched it was when Amy got it for me for Christmas, so this was literally 9 years ago when I finally got it back, and I remember just being like, holy shit, National Institute of Mental Health, that's insane. They're doing these tests on these rats, and the intelligence level of these rats is rising. It's really just completely out of control, and I've never read the book. I would actually love to read the book at this point. I think it would be a blast to check it out. So I've been a fan of it since I was a child, and it's, like I said before I started talking about the movie, it's one of those movies that a very small handful of people even remember and have even heard of. So I have no idea when you last watched The Secret of Nimh, V, but I'm curious what your rewatch was after however many years.
Yes, like you, I've been watching this movie since I was a child. Actually, probably too young to have been watching it, but it was the 80s, early 90s, so it makes sense. And I've always loved this movie. There's something about it, this gothic feel, the way it was animated, the coloring. I just was always very drawn to this film, and Mrs. Brisby actually always reminded me of my mother. I've always associated this movie with my mother.
Oh.
And I hadn't watched it in decades, but within the last 4 years, my mother and I sat down and watched it when I was visiting her house, when I was visiting my parents.
Oh, awesome.
And the two of us, I really like to watch movies with my parents as much as I can. And so the two of us were sitting down. My dad was downstairs in our movie room, And she said, I haven't watched The Secret of Nimh in a really long time. And so we discussed that and we watched it together and we both looked at each other afterwards like, God, this is still an incredible film. And boy, is it dark.
Yeah.
And it really is.
Oh, yeah.
There's deaths, there's violence, and all of these animals are anthropomorphic. And so there's a lot of weight put on this storyline. And Dom DeLuise is incredible. I love him in this movie called Haunted Honeymoon. It's a Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner movie. It's a terrible comedy, but I love it so much. I still think it's hilarious. And yeah, Dom DeLuise is so funny in it. He dresses up as Gene Wilder's aunt. And so he's in drag just about the entire movie. It's so hilarious.
Oh, that's great.
That's where I recognize him from first. And I have a lot of core childhood memories from this film because it was pretty terrifying. And the scene with moving the cinder block, I will always remember. That's what came to my head when I was watching it this week. I knew immediately that scene and recognized it and just felt very nostalgic in that moment because that's the main scene that I'd remembered. The Rat City is so cool. I love how they drew it.
Oh, yeah.
Very creative. There's animal testing in this movie, and it just reminded me that even though this movie was made back in the early 80s, there is still dog and monkey testing happening in the United States to this day.
Lame.
So I always try to donate to the causes that are trying to stop that. I always try to sign petitions as well. And it's just horrific that we still subject animals to that, especially because not only has the technology advanced enough where we don't need to do it anymore, but also animal biology is so different from ours. We're not actually getting the kind of answers we need when we're testing products on them. So yes, say no to animal testing as much as you can.
Definitely.
And there's also a murder plot in this movie. Like, this movie is intense for an animated film.
Yes.
But I love it.
For a G-rated one.
And I cannot believe it's G-rated. I will always be boggled by that moving forward. I love this movie so much. I was so glad to revisit it. And I always remember there was a board game we used to play as kids as well, or some cards. There was a lot of merchandising with this movie, I remember, and we bought all of it because we were so into this movie as a family. And so it's amazing to know that there's a full-on book as well. I think we had the book at some point, and I absolutely need to revisit it because I remember nothing about it.
Well, that's awesome. I was going through a box in my sister's garage over the last week, and that's where I have my VHS tapes because our place is a little too small to just have boxes lying around. And I pulled out an old journal of mine, and I didn't date it, but I know that it was way before I was 10 years old because my dad, when I was about 8, was like, you should start writing stuff down, like just keep a journal. And one of my entries was, Dad and I watched The Secret of Nimh again today, and I forgot how much I liked that movie. And I was like, well, geez, this is way serendipitous, the fact that I just found this and I'm about to watch The Secret of Nimh and All Dogs Go to Heaven, because of course after I watched The Secret of Nimh I literally watched All Dogs Go to Heaven right after it, and I just had to go down that Don Bluth rabbit hole. And man, I forgot a lot about All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Because you blocked it from your brain.
We will talk about that when we get to it. No, not really. No, I remember a good amount of that movie, but again, it's similar to your pick of Ferngully. So much of the dialogue and the scenarios that these dogs and these mice and rats are put in are so adult that it's like, yes, of course it's animated. It's similar to Inside Out and Soul. It's like, yes, it's animated, so it's for the masses, but it really is not for kids at all. Like there's nothing about either of these two movies that I would not show my oldest niece The Secret of Nimh until she's like 10 years old.
Totally agree.
So, yeah. So getting all that out, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I'm glad it was such a staple in your household as it was mine. And I think you and I maybe just should have a little book club and read The Secret of Nimh, the book.
I'm totally on board.
Awesome. You already have book clubs with my wife. Why not have one with me?
Oh, yeah. You're jealous. I get it. I don't have a podcast with her, though.
Anyway, moving on. That's true. Well, not that I know of.
Good point.
Now, like I mentioned, Don Bluth being involved in so many different Disney movies. We talked about him several episodes ago when I did Pete's Dragon, because he did the directing animation for Pete's Dragon. He was also involved with Sleeping Beauty, Sword in the Stone, Robin Hood, Winnie the Pooh, The Rescuers, and Fox and the Hound. And in the beginning of The Secret of Nimh, there is a nod to The Rescuers, which was Bluth's last Disney film that he did. And he has a little dragonfly in there, and I'm sure you remember Evenroot from The Rescuers.
Absolutely.
How can you forget Evenroot? That little sweater he wears and the whole like... I loved Evenroot. And Ava Gabor, Evenroot! That always cracked me up. I always loved that as a kid.
I love her
and
voice.
I still do. Oh, I love her voice too. Yes, absolutely. This was such a badass round of applause BTS piece of information that I found out. This film was the first animated movie that shared a profit contract with the animators of the movie.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome.
Yes. Don Bluth agreed to it. It was the first of its kind. So all of the animators got a percentage of the success of this movie. And that's like we've talked about Steven Spielberg and George Lucas taking back-end points on their movies. That's basically what this is in the animation world. And this was the first time that ever happened.
Oh, I hope it's happened more than once.
I hope so, too. That's actually a good question. I would love to actually find out how many times that's happened. There were 1,078 backgrounds in this movie.
Whoa.
Yeah, 600 colors used in the animation total.
Oh, yes. It's so beautiful. I cannot express or articulate how gorgeous this movie is.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking beautiful. Gary Trousdale, he was one of the animators in this movie. He ended up finding an injured owl in the LA River. He ended up taking it to the vet. And after his vet visit, he ended up keeping it in a cage in his house, but taking care of it, and he used it as a model for the great owl. So when he was done with making The Secret of Nimh, he released the owl back into the wild, and he said that he watched this owl fly to a roof in his neighborhood next to another owl, and then both of those owls flew away together.
Oh, it's a happy ending.
Yeah, that gave me chills when I read that. Yeah, I know. Because I'm just
was
thinking like one was
waiting for
the
it.
husband, one was the wife. Yeah, totally waiting for their love to come back. And good on you, Gary Trousdale, to not keep a wild animal and let it free. This was Jerry Goldsmith's first animated feature film that he scored.
Ooh, okay. Wow, that's an interesting connection to our movies this week.
I know, right? He has been around for many, many years, and he did a couple other animated films, including Mulan, The Mummy.
Oh, that's right, because Alan Silvestri only did The Mummy Returns. I forgot about that. Jerry Goldsmith did the original.
He also did the Tom Cruise film Legend. He did The Burbs with Tom Hanks. He did Total Recall, which we discussed very briefly last week's episode. He also did Rudy, The Shadow with Alec Baldwin, Congo, First Night, Executive Decision, Star Trek First Contact.
Yes.
Deep Rising, another great creature feature, and Along Came a Spider, and on top of so many other movies. So Jerry Goldsmith, awesome composer, very cool to have seen that this was his first animated feature film.
Yes, he was a prolific composer, and he also did the score for LA Confidential.
Oh, well, there you go. Now, this film had a budget at the time of $6.4 million is what I was able to find out.
That sounds about right.
Don Bluth and Don Bluth and Gary Goldman and a couple others involved in the production of this movie tried to raise the other $500,000 to bring the budget up to $7 million. So they ended up mortgaging their houses and finding some investors, and they were able to do that to bring the budget to an even $7 million, which is pretty sweet.
That's actually similar to the story of John Wick, the documentary that I watched last week. They ran out of money. They were $5.5 million short by Friday, and on Monday they were supposed to start filming. They were so stressed out, so screwed. They mortgaged their houses. They borrowed money from other people. Eva Longoria came in and saved the day.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. I remember reading that. Good on you, Eva Longoria. That's awesome. I've worked with her on Jane the Virgin. She's very sweet.
Oh, nice. Isn't she very tiny?
She is a little shorter than me, so...
Okay, she's like 5'3".
a little tiny. I'm short.
You're not that short.
Yeah, not too much smaller, but I'm not, but I just always wish I was taller. Now, the cameras that were used to photograph this movie were in development for 6 months, and 14 months was spent building and testing the cameras to shoot this movie.
Jesus!
Which is pretty impressive stuff. I know. Yeah, so that's 20 months in just pre-production on the camera work to make sure that this movie could be photographed properly.
I always forget they have to photograph or scan the cells in order to make an animated movie.
Yeah, I know, me too. I just figure you just draw it and there it is.
Yeah. Wow.
That's my naivete in the animation world. And like I said, this film had a $7 million budget. It was released on July 5th of 1982. It was very well received. It only made $14.6 million worldwide. Opening weekend, it didn't do so well, but it certainly soared on VHS releases and rentals and purchases.
Well, thank God, considering that they worked so hard on this film. It was well deserved. It should have been a success.
I completely agree. It is certainly a cult classic, but the highest grossing film of 1982, V, I'm sure you know it. It's a past pick of yours. I have the Steelbook 4K. It's a masterpiece.
It's E.T., isn't it?
It was E.T. from
Nice.
1982, yes. Highest grossing film of 1982. And 1982 had a lot of really good movies because we've done several of them. And I have enough time to go through the year of 1982. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I've got a little bit of time. So let's go into it. Number one of your past picks, E.T., the extraterrestrial. Number two, a favorite of yours, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Certainly one of my favorites as well.
Mm-hmm.
Number 8 was another past pick of yours during our Star Trek episode, The Wrath of Khan!
Yes.
Great flick. Number 21, Time Bandits. Number 24, a past pick of mine with Dustin Hoffman, Bill Murray, Terry Garr, Tootsie.
Awesome.
Yes. Number 26 was Tron. Number 28 was Blade Runner, the original. Number 43, another past pick of yours. I have the 4K. It was one of your first horror movie picks.
The Thing?
The Thing, number 43 of 1982.
And I was able to see it in theaters within the last 2 years, which was awesome.
Yes, as same with me. I got to see it at the drive-in theater just up the road.
Mm-hmm.
Number 74 was Das Boot, a phenomenal submarine film shot in Germany by Wolfgang Petersen. If you have not seen Das Boot out there, audience, absolutely worth checking out. It should be on my list as a war movie.
It really should. We've talked about it multiple times. We just need to carve out a week where we each have an extra 4 hours to watch it.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. And the 68th highest grossing film of 1982, my pick this week, The Secret of Nimh, coming in with $12.5 million.
No way. Top 100? I did not see that coming.
Yeah, I actually didn't either. But that's pretty impressive stuff.
That's
very,
fantastic.
very cool to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is The Secret of Nimh that came out on July 5th of 1982. If you would like to check out The Secret of Nimh, it is currently streaming for free on YouTube. I watched my VHS copy. You can also check it out on Tubi for free or rent it on Apple TV for $3.99.
And I forgot to say that Ferngully The Last Rainforest is currently streaming on Disney.
Perfect. Well, all right. That is our episode of Dark Animated Films from the early 90s and the early 80s. That was a lot of awesome information to learn about Ferngully. And when I was doing my research for The Secret of Nimh, I just kept getting blown away because it is such a crazy ass flick. And I'm so glad that I was able to bring it to our audience and reintroduce UV to it. Great movie. And thank you very much for choosing Ferngully this week. Great
Absolutely.
movie as well.
Thank you. Right back at you. I'm so glad we are big fans of both our films, and they're both such well-crafted animated movies, and I love that they were exactly 10 years apart.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty awesome. Now, V, I'm sure you already have, but would you watch Ferngully with your grandmother?
Oh, absolutely. That movie is
Perfect.
a lot more, as we said, tame compared to yours, and I think anyone like
Yes.
8 and above?
Oh, yeah. For Ferngully? Sure.
Yeah, maybe 7.
I was going to say, I was 7 when it came out and
Yeah.
I saw it, so I think, 7 or 8 is good.
And John, would you watch The Secret of Nimh with your grandma?
I certainly did at least once or twice as a child.
Sweet.
So thank you guys for joining us for episode 176. Please do check these movies out. Keep them alive. Show your kids if they're old enough to handle it.
Yeah.
Because they certainly need to be continually passed on to the next generation and the next generation. For our children's children, as it says at the end of Ferngully.
Yeah.
Both of these movies deserve that treatment, as do most animated films that are fantastic like these two. So next week, we are going in a completely different direction for the... I am excited for this episode. V, why don't you tell everybody what movie you chose for next week?
I chose a British gangster film from one of my all-time favorite directors, Guy Ritchie, starring Jason Statham, Benicio del Toro, Brad Pitt, and a whole host of other awesome character actors. This is Snatch.
Nice. I haven't seen Snatch in some time.
Okay, well, I'm excited for you to revisit it, and if all of you want to follow along, feel free. You can watch it for free on Pluto right now. It does come with some commercials, but that is a streaming service for free that you can watch it on, or you can rent it from most other streaming services as well.
I will watch the DVD copy I borrowed from my dad.
And which of your picks did I give amnesty to that you can that you were able to put on the list for next week?
Well, this pick of mine was a very early pick of mine here at Movies You Miss Podcast, but V vetoed it very, very quickly.
I sure as shit did.
I used a lot of V's in there. But V so graciously decided to unveto this flick. Not entirely sure why, but can't wait to hear V's opinion when we discuss it.
Yeah, I'm still not sure why. It's okay.
Well, maybe you'll see it this time and feel bad about your veto.
I'm hoping that's what happens.
Me too. And I know I haven't even told the audience what my pick is. It's from 2006. This film is written and directed by Joe Carnahan. If you know the name, awesome. If not, we did a very early episode of a Joe Carnahan film starring Ray Liotta. We did Narc after Ray Liotta passed away. This film also stars Ray Liotta, Ryan Reynolds, Jeremy Piven, Andy Garcia, Taraji P. Henson, Alicia Keys, Ben Affleck, Peter Berg, Jason Bateman, Common, Kevin Durant, and Chris Pine. This is Smokin' Aces.
Oh my god, I forgot Chris Pine's in this movie. Oh.
Yep, Chris fucking Pine. I think he's the most memorable character in the entire movie.
It's certainly my favorite scenes of the movie.
Absolutely, yes. Now, if you care to follow along with us next week for Smokin' Aces and Snatch, V already mentioned where you can watch Snatch. Smokin' Aces is not currently streaming anywhere for free, but you can rent it on Apple or on Amazon for $3.99. I will have to rent it because I actually don't own Smokin' Aces.
Wow.
I know. It's one of those movies that I always was like, I should get Smokin' Aces, and I just never did. And now I feel like I just should have it in my arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what we will be doing next week. We will be doing intense heist flicks. Mine's kind of a heist flick, but more of a kidnapping flick and a hitman flick. Gangster movies. Yeah, gangster movies kind of works. Yeah, that works. Yeah, why not? Gangster movies. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So I look forward to it, and it sounds like V does as well. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for this episode. Please do rate, review, subscribe, follow us on all social media. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. That Watch Party prize with V and I is still up for grabs. So we'll see you guys next week. But before we shut down, we always like to close out here with film as a form of art. And in art, all opinions are valid, except if you think
Don Bluth animated movies aren't as good as Disney.
Hey, that's a good one. I like that.
Okay.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I figured you would.
I do. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Cheers, everybody.
Bye-bye.